Hello everyone and welcome to Augmintech. So today the topic that we are going to discuss is lighting applications in interior design. So in this video I am going to talk about how lighting plays a very crucial role in shaping the ambience, functionality and aesthetic appeal of any interior space. We are going to talk about how lighting is applied in commercial and residential spaces. We are also going to talk about the different kind of lightings. So stay tuned. Now, the first very important thing when it comes to lighting is, of course, the aesthetic appeal. See, whatever materials you use, whatever kind of space that you create, ultimately, lighting is something which is going to emphasize on certain things. It is going to create an atmosphere. So, lighting is the factor which is ultimately going to add a lot of highlights and features in your space. So, lighting in interiors sculpts ambience, highlights features, and breathes life into a space. Now imagine you have designed a very beautiful space and there is no light whatsoever. Will you be able to enjoy that space? No, right? And now think about a space which has no design whatsoever. It has completely plain walls and you have all the kind of lighting that you need. So that is the kind of room which is going to be more functional. So, lighting is literally oxygen for interiors. So, whenever you are planning any kind of a space, be it commercial, residential, retail, whatever, lighting is something which is supposed to be given the utmost important. As you can see in this image right here, on the left hand side, we have added some kind of lights over the table. So now this kind of light can be for aesthetics as well, but it can also be for the people who are sitting on the chairs and working. So this will provide that kind of a light. But also the big windows that you see on the back, this is something which is giving life to the space. Yes, there are plants. Yes, there is some kind of a green paneling here. But in order to enhance that or to make it look real, lighting is the most important. So the first aspect why we generally make so much fuss about what kind of lights we use and how we use it, it is because that aesthetic appeal of any space comes only because of the lighting, right? So even though if you do all the work, this is the part where you cannot stay back. You have to have the best kind of lighting for your space in order for your ambience to appear, to be there, right? So if I say I have a room where you have some kind of a red light or a blue light or a green light, that kind of lighting is going to give another sort of ambience, right? That is something which completely defines the space. So, lighting in a way is something which is going to make or break your concept, make or break your design. So, being a designer, you have to always think about lighting. Every element that you design, every corner that you think about, simultaneously keep thinking about the lighting. How can you increase the aesthetic appeal of that space with what kind of lighting? We are going to discuss about the types of lights as well. But for now, the first thing that we need to know is lighting is the most important part of creating an aesthetic appeal. Now, what else is it that lighting plays a very important role in? Of course, practical function. Pro- Lighting provides illumination for performing tasks and creating a desired ambience. We've already talked about how you can create aesthetics using lighting, but this is something which is going to help you understand how this is practically the most important part of your design. Because whenever you are creating a space, let's look at this space right here. If you look at it, so there is a bedroom above and there is a bed, small bed here. There is a study table. But now look at the kind of lighting we have. There is a kind of natural light coming in through this window. That's one. Secondly, what happens when the daylight disappears? Then we have these small lamps. Now here they have small lamp right beside the bed. So maybe this is something the person can use when they are sitting on the bed and trying to read. So this has a very functional, practical function to it. Then we have a kind of light under this bed so that this area gets lit up. So now practicality is something which is directly proportional to your lighting. If you do have a certain kind of activity happening in a space, you need to understand about the what kind of lighting you need to provide. Where should you keep your lights? Now, this is something that comes from practicality itself. If we are talking about a study table, you should know that you need more light there, right? Then, if we are talking about a space which is like a storeroom, and you know there is going to be a lot of storage there is going to be a lot of stuff in there, so you do need more light, right? What generally happens is we do not think about these small spaces, but the practical function, the minute you think about the practical function, you will know where to put light and how much light you should put, right? So every time you're thinking about any kind of a space, be it a 4,000 square feet gym, be it a 200 square feet bedroom, be it a 50 square feet bedroom, you need to think about the functionality, as we have discussed before also, when we plan the activities, when we plan the furniture. Then and that time also you need to think about the practical functions and how you can provide lighting to improve that, right? So the next important aspect of lighting is energy efficiency. Now, when you are designing your space or when you are thinking about the lighting in your space, this is something that you should keep in mind. Whenever we are using energy efficient lighting, we are in a way creating a sustainable environment. We are also creating a very comfortable space, right? So what happens in, but why am I saying energy efficiency? How you can achieve this? LED bulbs and smart controls are the key to energy efficient lighting in interior spaces. Now, what happens is generally, if you have a look at any kind of a space, be it a living room, be it a bedroom, be it a small office, what we generally do is we provide the kind of lights we need, but there is not a very flexible way to operate those lights, right? So if I am talking about LED bulbs, if I am talking about dimmable bulbs, so if I have some kind of light in the space and there are multiple functions going on, let's say if I'm working, if I'm, let's say I'm just working on I'm journaling, I'm writing something, that's the time when I'll need more light, right? If I'm working on my laptop, if I'm just working on my laptop or let's say watching a movie, then I would need less light, right? So in order to achieve that, we need to have lighting which can be controlled and which can be something that you can modify according to the activity you are performing, right? If you look at this image right here, now what they have done is they have lights on, on the ceiling as well, but there is a very subtle mood light going on all four sides of the room. There is a light under these drawers. Now, what these lights do is, if you just want a touch of light and just want so that you do not kind of slip or do not hurt yourself, if you just want that kind of a light, this works very well, right? So, but let's say you do not have any such kind of light in your space. You do not have a light which is controllable by you. Then what you have to do is you will have to turn on all the lights or either turn off all the lights. So you do not have the option. So creating energy efficient spaces simply means that we know that if we have multiple functions, we can divide the type of lighting. We can compartmentalize the whole ceiling and say, okay, the left corner that works with these kind of switches, the right one works with these ones. So whenever there is work going on in the right side, we can turn on the right ones. If there is work going on left side, we'll turn on the left one. And if we are just looking for using the complete space, then maybe we can turn on all the lights. So this is how you can create an energy efficient lighting layout. So keeping in mind the activities and then placing the controls accordingly. Now, let's talk about importance of lighting in creating ambience. When you are trying to create an ambience or you want to create a kind of mood in a space, what does the lighting do? Lighting can help you set a mood of the space. It Lighting can transform a space's mood from cozy and inviting to bright and energetic. Now, what do I mean by this? So let's say you have multiple kinds of lighting in your room. Let's take example of this room, for example. So there is a light on the ceiling. There is also this light which they have not turned on here. But then there are lights on the wall. There is some light going on here, here, and then there are table lamps as well. So there are multiple kinds of lighting here. What happens is, if I turn off, half the lights here, let's say I've turned off all the lights from here, and the only light I'm getting is from the outside, from the natural light. So that is going to create a different kind of an environment for me. If I do the opposite, if it's the night time and I turn on all of these lights, it will create a different kind of atmosphere for me. Will it? Will it not? So it is something that you can quickly do with the help of your lighting. Now, the type of light that you use, the type of lights, the variations that you provide in a space, that can help you in setting the mood. Now, let's say you have a retail store which you want to design, and there is a retail store which you want to add lighting to. There, what is the mood that you are going to set? Now, that completely depends on the brand, one. Secondly, you do want to create a very energetic mood there. You want people to feel like they're fresh and they can still shop. So you will create a kind of environment where there is a lot of light so that people do not feel lazy. If we have a subtle light like we have in this room, because since this is a living room, you want people to relax here. So there is a very subtle sort of a light going on and people can simply relax in this room. Now imagine if I had multiple spotlights on top. Can you relax in a space like that? No, right? So it is something, lighting, that can transform the space. It can make a space very energized or very lazy. So it totally depends on the kind of lighting you do. Second thing is focal points. If you want to use lighting as an element, then you can create multiple focal points. Let's say if all the lights are closed here, we have not turned on any lights, and there is just one light, which is this circular cove light, which is turned on. Then your focus will go exactly here, right? So strategic use of light creates focal points, defining ambience in interior space. Now, this also can be done with the help of lighting that you put on some wall. Let's say you have a big chandelier coming here. So that will create a focal point. So depending on the type of design you are creating, we can create focal points with the help of lighting. Now again, let's look at this image right here. Now this is an image of a place where there is a sitting right outside. It could be a restaurant or something. So it has a good view of the city and there are some minimal lighting going on. Now, what happens in spaces like this is, if you do it carefully and correctly, you can create an atmosphere of, a certain vibe. You can create an atmosphere for your client. Now, here, whoever comes in, they would want to chill and relax and have a look at the views, enjoy their food. They do not really need a lot of light, but they do need some kind of an atmospheric light which gives them a feel of how they are sitting together. And people go for candlelights dinner. Let's take that example. People go for candlelights dinner, and what's the difference between a normal dinner and a candlelight dinner? It's just the kind of light they're using, right? So when you're using candles, it kind of has that warmth in it, and it kind of creates a very cozy environment rather than going for normal lights. That is again a good option, but I'm just comparing the two. So when you're using the other kind of lights, you will have a very different kind of atmosphere. Being in the same space, sitting on the same table, you will feel entirely different. The atmosphere will change just because of the kind of lighting you are using. So that is what we mean by creating atmosphere. Lighting creates atmosphere in interior spaces by layering light and manipulating color temperature. Now, what happens is, whenever we apply any kind of a light, whatever colors it reflects by, it changes that color. Let's say if you put white light on a certain wall, that would create a different atmosphere. If you put blue light on the same wall, that will generate another effect. And if you put yellow light on that wall, again, a different atmosphere. So if you look at this, they have created very warm lighting, which kind of creates an ambience of warmth and, a family time, fun time. So that's something that we are creating through lighting. Again, aesthetics. Now, lighting design also uses fixtures, placement, and color temperature to craft a space's mood and visual harmony. Now, if you look at this image again, this is the interior of the restaurant space and this is the outside. But what they have done is they have used the same kind of light here and here. Now, this is something that binds the space. Even though this is outside and that is inside, it kind of feels like a part of the same unit, right? So you can use lighting to create harmony in spaces. You can add similar kind of fixtures. Let's say you have a kind of light that you have put on wall and you use 20 of them throughout your restaurant design. That is going to create a very beautiful harmony, that is going to create a kind of sense of rhythm. It is going to give you a very nice effect, and ultimately it is going to provide you good aesthetics. Now, the next topic that we are discussing is layering and zoning of lighting. Now, see, lighting is not something that you put a light on a wall and you're done with it. We used to have those kind of lights in previous times. I don't know how many of you had tube lights in your home or how many of you still do. That even in recent times, we have gained this idea of creating false ceilings and creating lights. Now, what's the idea behind false ceilings? When you create false ceilings and you add light directly on the ceiling, you have multiple options. You can have whatever kind of light wherever you want, right? So that gives you an option of zoning the light. So let's say if you have a bedroom of 10 feet by 10 feet and in one corner you have a dresser. Now that's where you would require more light. So in that corner, you can put more lights and you can create, very neutral lights also where you want the person to feel good about themselves. If they're looking at the mirror, maybe you can give them some kind of a natural light so that it feels like, they are looking good in that. So you can zone the light like that. It is not like you just plainly put lights on every wall and you are done. So layering, what layering simply means is, if you look at this space, here we have some kind of lights on the ceiling. If you see this, there is a light on the ceiling. There are more lights on the ceiling. Then there are cove lights. There's light under the bed. Now what happens is there are multiple types of lights. So what a person can use is they can have a light just for sleeping. They can have light for reading on the bed. They can have light for watching TV. So there are different kinds of layers in lighting. If you look at this space, down there is a chandelier. There are lights on the ceiling. Then there are lights on the walls. Then there are also lamps. So this is how we layer light. We think about, okay, so this kind of light, if I'm providing, this will give ambient lighting. Ambient lighting, it provides overall illumination to the room. So the first thing that you want to do is, when you are providing light, the first step is to create ambient light so that everything, every part of the room is visible when you turn on these lights, right? That's the first step. Second step is accent light. Now, what does accent light do? Accent light highlights architectural features, artworks, and other design elements. Now, this is the kind of light that you can put on any artwork on the wall if you have some texture paint going on, if you have a nice, if you want to create, if you have a wallpaper, you want to highlight that, then you can create accent light. If you see this image, here what they have done is there is a texture paint on the back wall. So they have used an accent light to highlight this space. See? So first of all, you have to have a light which kind of lightens up the whole space, which causes the most of the illumination. Then you add the second layer, which is accent lighting. Now the third part is task lighting. What is task lighting? If you look at this image right here, the light that you see here, which is on the table, which is on the shelves, now this is specifically for the person to work on the table. We want to illuminate just this part. so that whoever is working there is comfortable enough. So this is just for the task or the specific work area. Now, why do we have lights on the bookshelf? Because we want the people to just easily read the labels of the books they are trying to find, and it makes it easier for them to work through them. So, task lighting. This is the third part. If you have all three of these lighting, your work is mostly done. But there is another layer that you can add, which is called decorative lighting. Now, once you have all of these things happening with you, then you can think about decorative lighting, the kind of fixtures that you can see in this image. So there is a chandelier, there is a wall light. Now these are very intricate details. They look different. They kind of look like sculptures itself. So if you want to add that extra oomph in your space, if you want to add that extra element of wow, then you can go for decorative lighting. But you should always start with ambient, go with accent, task, and then come to decorative lighting. If you follow this, then you will find a space which is very well lit, and it also is practical. As we were talking about importance of lighting, we talked about ambience and we also talked about practicality. So when you follow this this sequence, then you will create a kind of a space which is very well lit. Residential lighting applications. Now, how do we use lights in residences? Let's talk about different kind of spaces so that you understand in detail how this works. The first space I'm going to talk about is your living room. Now here, for any kind of living room, we create a combination of ambient, task, accent, and also decorative lighting for a versatile illumination. Now, here, there is no one light which is specifically important, right? You have to, the one thing is that you have to always create ambient light so that the whole space is lit up. But since living rooms are generally spaces where people sit down, they kind of socialize in those spaces. So you need to add interest in that space. Now, how do you add interest? You will add interest by creating accents and by using decorative lighting. Now again, the task lighting here is not as important because ultimately the task here is to socialize or maybe form groups, have conversations. So you might not need a very specific kind of light here, but the most important is ambient, and then you do want to create accents so that it is interesting. Let's say if you are sitting, if there are so many people in this space, let's say there are 7, 8 people sitting, they're talking, they're having their snacks, and they're moving around. So whenever you have such kind of a place where people are going to socialize, you want to create interest, because those kind of things also form conversations. Let's say you have a beautiful piece of artwork and there is a light right above it, which is kind of creating an atmosphere of highlighting that artwork. Then that might be the space which kind of starts a conversation. People can talk about the art, right? So if you just place a artwork on the wall, nobody is maybe not going to notice it. But if you highlight it with the accent, it might be a conversation starter. So that's what you want for living rooms, right? So this is how we think about these small little details. So being designers, if you do not do that, then you are lagging behind. Somebody is going to just come over and take your place, or, be better than you. So be careful about these little details. This is something which is going to give you an edge. Now, the second space that I'm going to talk about is kitchen. Now, kitchen is a space which is very task oriented. You have many different kinds of tasks which need to happen in the kitchen. And in order to have that, run smoothly, we do need different kind of task lighting. So bright task lighting over work surfaces and softer ambient lighting for the overall space. So for kitchens, the main lighting that you need is your task lighting. It does not matter if you have ample ambient light, because you do need task light whatsoever. So if you look at this space, here on the countertop, we have this light, which is the task light. Now let's say these lights were not there or this light was not there. It doesn't matter, right? This is the light which matters the most here. because whoever is going to work on the counter, they need a lot of there's so many things that are going to perform. They are going to maybe cut the vegetables, so there are chances of accident there. Now they're also going to maybe use the stove, maybe use the kettle. So all of those things which they are performing, it is something which is it can be an electrical hazard, can be a fire hazard. So the lighting plays a very, very important role here. Also, when let's say you have lights inside the cabinet, so when you're opening the cabinet, the light is already there. So with the help of only task lighting, you can make a kitchen work if you do it right. So that does not mean that you do not do any other sort of lighting. If you look at this, they do have some kind of decorative lighting as well. It kind of seems like this kitchen is a part of a bigger space. So they have an island, and where there they have used decorative lights. So it is not like you cannot use the other kind of lights, but the main focus should be on the task lighting, which is the whole gist of kitchen lighting. So another space which I'm going to talk about is bedroom. Now for bedrooms, the major application of lighting is to create mood for relaxation. That's the first thing, right? So we always have to keep in mind that this is the foremost and the most important part of bedrooms, that we need to provide a very relaxing and calming environment. So whatever materials you use, whatever kind of design you create, the lighting should be dimmable for relaxation, reading, and mood setting. I'm not saying everybody should go for dimmable lightings, but it is a very good way to create a space which is calming and soothing, because it gives you again that flexibility. Now, if you look at this image right here, they have these side hanging lights. They have lights on the top. So there are different levels, different layers of light. So there is accent lighting, there is task lighting, and here specifically is mood lighting. So here we are not trying to perform a task. We do not have, work to do here. So we are just here to relax. So maybe you need a reading light. So for bedrooms, you can think about task lighting as well. Maybe if you're sitting on your bed and you want to read, so you have task lights there. And so let's just imagine whatever, if you have ever visited a hotel room, you would see that they have very specific lights. So if you visit a hotel room, they will have a light wherever you are entering, which is the foyer area. Then they'll have lights for the study. Then they'll have lights for your bedsides. And there are a very few lights on the ceiling, because that's what you need. You do not need to illuminate the whole bedroom or energize the whole bedroom until unless your client says so. But the main idea of creating a bedroom is to create a very relaxing environment. So do not go for extravagant lights. Do not add as many lights as you want. Be careful about the kind of lights you're providing. You do not want to energize the space so much that people do not feel like sleeping in the bedroom. They're always active. And you know what? They will never know why they are always active. So it's just because of the lights that you have provided. So for bedroom, always think about relaxation and kind of mood set. So the next topic is commercial lighting applications. Now for commercial spaces, lighting is let's say 80% is lighting and 20% is whatever design you're doing. Because lighting is something which is going to accentuate the design, and it is going to help people feel a certain way in the store. If you look at this store, they do not have so many lights, but they have very focused lights. So they have lights on all the kinds of shelves. They have lights falling on all the kind of spaces where the person would move around. They have lights specific to the spaces, like they have lights in the counters as well. So the most important type of light here is your task and accent lights. You do need a lot of task lights here, a lot of accent lights, and also a good volume of ambient light. So the first thing is you need to have a space which is well lit. Secondly, you will add accent lights to all the kinds of shelves or all the kinds of racks that you are creating. Then you need task lighting. Task lighting here means that you are accentuating the product which is displayed. So you can have kind of spotlights falling on the products. So that is helping the person shop better. So it is helping the customer to shop better. So hence it is the task lighting. It is helping to perform the task of shopping. So also again here you can go for decorative lighting as well, but make sure that you have achieved everything else before you think about your decorative lighting. You do need a lot of illumination here. The task lights need to be there. There should be focus on all the products. So whenever you are designing, be it any kind of a space for retail, you need to focus on the product, right? So if the lighting is not ample, the product may not be highlighted, which completely fails the project, because if the product that you are showcasing or the person who is trying to sell that product, if the product is not visible properly, then you have not done your job well. So think about retail spaces in a way that you are a customer who's going to walk through this space and buy something. So you need to see things in a way that they look attractive to you and they look real and they look like everything that you see there looks very tempting for you to buy. So that's the whole gist of creating retail spaces. Now, when we talk about office spaces, there are two different kind of office spaces which are available to us. One is your home office or office space which is just for one person where you are just working. Then comes an office space which is an MNC or a bigger office space where more than 100 employees are working or more than even 10 employees are working. They have a very different kind of environment. So in an office space where there are multiple employees and which is a corporate office, let's say, there you need to create lighting which is very strong. You have to have a lot of ambient light. Now let's take an example. Why do human beings sleep at night and wake up in the morning? This is how we are wired, genetically. So we wake up in the morning, we are energized, we have those kind of, we feel productive. And at night, we are lazy, we want to sleep and we want to just rest, right? That's how we are wired. So in office spaces, the most important thing is your ambient light. There should be a lot of ambient light available so that people feel productive and they feel energized. That is the most important aspect. Then the second part is that you think about the task light. Now, all the employees who are working, yes, you have given them ample light. There is natural light coming in. You have provided with all the kind of ambient light. But if you do not provide with them with task light, then also the work is not complete. So task light basically means whoever is working on a desk or in a office or in a set of workspaces, there you need to give them a specific kind of task light. So let's say they have a small light on their desk or they have lights falling over their desk, so specific to a space. That is how you create those offices. If I talk about home offices, you can add any kind of accent light there you want, and you can create a subtle soothing atmosphere as well. You can go for dimmable lights depending on the type of office that you are creating. For a home office, you can think about those lights, but in a way, if I'm talking about bigger office spaces, the most important aspect, as I said, is ambient light, task light. Then, of course, you can add accent lights and decorative lights, which are always welcome. You can add them according to your design. But the most important aspect is once you figure out the kind of ambient light you have created, the kind of task light that you have given, then you can move forward with accents and decorations. Now, the next aspect that we are going to talk about is hospitality. Now, hospitality interiors basically mean when we're talking about hotels. What happens here is we do need a lot of task lighting here. Like, let's say there are 4 people working at the reception counter. They do need a lot of task lighting. If I don't know if how many of you would have seen it, but generally, if you go to any kind of hotel reception, they have a cove light or a strip light which directly falls on their table, or they have a hanging light right above their table, which kind of provides them with that illumination. So the task lighting is something which is very important for hospitality, and we need a very subtle ambient light here. We do not want a very bright light. We want a very subtle, soft ambient light, because what we are providing or what we are selling in hospitality is calm and relaxing. So we are selling people, we are calling people to come and relax in the vacations, or kind of, like feel like they are resting, right? So that's the whole gist of hospitality. And like if you see in this image right here, the space is huge, right? The height is a lot, but there are not a lot of lights, so they have created a very subtle atmosphere here. You will generally see big chandeliers in hotel lobbies, and most of the times those are the chandeliers which are providing most of the light. They do not add a lot of ambient light there, because for one reason, that they do not want people to be as active. They do want people to feel relaxed, and it also creates a kind of a mood. So depending on the type of hotel you are visiting or designing, the kind of lighting that you provide also depends on the type of hotel. So if you are just designing for a very corporate sort of a hotel, where they provide, they offer a lot of meetings, and they offer most of their clientage is corporate, then maybe you can go for more ambient light. But if there is a resort, let's say if there is a luxury 5-star hotel, they will go for softer ambient lights only. So here also, task lighting, as I said, we need bright task lighting and softer ambient lighting. As I was discussing with you, the hotel room as well. So if you think about any hotel room that you have recently been to, you will see that the brightest of lights are the ones which are, above the study table or right beside your like side tables. So those are the major lights. Other lights are very dim, right? So that is how lighting is provided in hospitality. Now, if I talk about healthcare or any kind of institutions, here also the most important part is safety, productivity, and well being. If I'm talking about healthcare, I'm talking about people feeling energized and feeling good about themselves. So, here we need to take care about the kind of lights we are creating. We cannot have a lot of ambient light as well, because people who are going to come in might be sick, might be people who do not like that kind of energy, right, coming through their eyes, right? So you need to take care about the kind of lighting you're doing at what parts of it. Let's say if it's a reception area, it's a waiting area, then you can go for a lot of ambient light and lesser, lesser task light, let's say. But if I'm talking about an OT, if I'm talking about a place where doctors are, you would want bright task lighting, and you would not want, very bright ambient light. Ambient light should be there, should be enough, but it should be enough. That's it. You do not need to overdo it. And here you can also avoid decorative lighting. If you are looking at decorative lighting, think about things like like how durable is that, and if it is safe enough. You cannot use fixtures which are somewhat not friendly for all sorts of people coming in. So think about those kinds of things. So if you look at this image right here, they have done a very subtle kind of lighting here. There are so many different types of lights, and also the sunlight is coming in, but the light is not so profound that we do not want people to feel like they are in a retail store. They're not here to shop. They are here to feel better. So they do need some kind of relaxation as well. But given the safety point of view, we do need a lot of ambient light as well. So we need to break a balance here. We need ambient light, we need task lights. So these are the two kind of lights which is most important in your healthcare sector.